My victim.
How do I start this thing? Welcome to my podcast, Mr. Ryan Betson.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
I feel really awkward because this is like the first episode, so I'm like, what do I even do with this? But I said I'm gonna wing it. Could you kindly introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. I'm Ryan Betson. I am. What kind of spiel do you want though? Do you want like the full blown spiel or my work spiel?
Your work spiel?
Yeah, because I have different spiel. Obviously, like there's the me spiel, which is I'm Ryan Betson. I'm 30. I'm the husband of Millie. I'm the father of James. By day, I am my self-appointed title is video games champion at Gen U Gamer, where we use gaming hobbies to assist youth and young adults with ASD and mental health challenges. To increase their socialization, interpersonal skills. And by night, I am the editor-in-chief and co-founder of The Pop Culturist, a personality-based pop culture entertainment outlet. We've been doing YouTubes and podcasts and videos for the better part of 6 years now. And I think where our specialities are, because I've mildly rebranded a little bit. I'm just focusing on that alliteration. So it's personalities, podcast, PlayStation, and pro wrestling.
I love it. Do you know what? That's probably one of the best spiels I've ever heard in my entire life.
Thank you very much.
So everyone else now has, they got to reach that standard, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I've had to do it a few times, actually, so I've kind of got it like bang, ready to go.
See, my hobbies always change, so I'm just like, what do I talk about this time?
Like, what am I really into right now?
What is my ADHD letting me do right now? Because I could go into that for hours. Right. So for this episode, we're going to be talking about the 1992 release of Candyman. I said it that way because when I told my grandma we're going to be talking about Candyman, that's what she said.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really creepy, grandma.
Like, was it like she knew the film, or she was
yeah,
like,
no, she knows the film.
Oh shit! No,
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, no, my family, not so much my sister, but like the rest of my family are really big horror buffs. Nice. So I was probably influenced a lot by my aunt, who is only like maybe 12 or 13 years older than me. So, and she loves horror movies, like everything you can possibly imagine. So she really introduced me to it. But I think it came from my grandma because my grandma loves horror movies. So it's just intergenerational.
It's genetic. You can't lose it. It's gone. It's in there.
But whereas my dad thought that The Evil Dead is really terrifying, and I'm just like, Dad, that movie's not even scary.
It's more funny, if anything.
Yeah. I find it a comedic horror. But so please, can you please give us like a little bit of a summary of Candyman, as if people who are listening have never watched the movie before.
Okay, so Candyman is a film about an urban legend. It is the urban legend of the Candyman. Think Bloody Mary mixed with that classic dude with the hook for a hand. That's kind of what it's at. So the premise is that there is a supernatural being with the name of Candyman, where you say his name 5 times into a mirror, and then at some point he'll come and just wreck your day.
Come and wreck your day. He's coming to fuck your shit up.
Yeah, so like it's based in I want to say Detroit, but it's not Detroit. It's I think it's Chicago.
I know it's Chicago somewhere.
Yeah, so it's the movie itself is based on these two women. Set around these two women who for their thesis, for their university thesis, are focusing on conspiracy theories or something along those lines. It's like popular culture in terms of lore, and they discover the thing called Candyman, which is very popular within the local black community. So they go down that rabbit hole and then see, where this takes, and then there's like a real weird turn halfway. It's a film.
Yeah. Look, it's something else, isn't it?
Well, because that's the thing. Like, I remember the reason when you came to ask me, and you're like, what was the first movie that like scared the shit out of you? And I was like, well, it's Candyman. And then, but I haven't watched it since I was, like 9 or 10, which is when it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So, like...
You remember watching it for the first time?
Yeah, I remember watching it at my mate's place, my mate Nick. Like, we used to do this thing on the weekend where, like, once every 2 or 3 weeks, we would go to the video shop and just borrow a stack of videos, right? That's how I saw Jay and Silent Bob for the first time, which was amazing. So I was like 10 years old. It was bright, colourful, and full of swears. It was amazing. But then I'm pretty sure in that same stack of videos was Candyman.
Ooh.
So we watched Candyman, and yeah, all I remember is just being horrified, being scared of all the mirrors in my house. The bathroom was horror. I remember when I was in the shower. I didn't say Candyman in the mirror at all. But I'm in the shower and I'm looking at the mirror. Like, no, we're cool.
And you're like, nah, he's coming to get me.
Yeah, because like the big fear, because it's all about this dude coming through the mirror, right, or appearing, right. The mirror, like, for my bathroom led straight to, like, this back path behind my house. You could just pull the bricks off and just hike in if you wanted to. There wasn't, like, a mirror leading
like,
into
Candyman,
another room.
If real, could legitimately find a way into your house. And
he just stands in my back door and punches bricks in and climbs in.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Punch bricks in.
Not part of the story, by the way. He didn't punch any bricks.
He doesn't punch any bricks. But, so... You definitely remember like where you were and how you felt watching that movie, because obviously I
distinctly remember being at my friend's house watching it like in his room. Like I can remember it pretty vividly. I don't remember the film very well, but I remember around it. Like, because when you asked me the 2 films that I remember scaring me the most when I was a kid was Candyman and What Lies Beneath, and that really wasn't a horror movie. That was more of a thriller kind of interesting thing. So. And like that was also bathroom related. I don't know why. Like I must have had a really shit time in bathrooms, I guess.
A really shit time.
No, nice. But yeah, no, I remember like actively messing with me for a little while, and like up until this point where I've rewatched the movie, that was my go-to answer. If anyone asked me, I'm like, that was the first movie I saw. That was the movie that scared the shit out of me the most when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of movies that are based around that urban legend, urban myths, do like I loved the movie Urban Legend. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, me too. I love that.
But it's all about
film.
like all the different urban legends coming in and killing people, and I think there was a Hookman in that one too. It's been a while since I've seen it. But and anything with an urban legend is really fantastic. And it really...
It's because there's like that nice element of possibility.
Yeah, and lore and history and... Not that Candyman does, because the guy who wrote it invented Candyman for the purpose. And I know that there was a little bit of controversy around how people were saying that he exploited the black community for this story. And he was just like, no, I invented Candyman. Like, I'm the man who created him. Be angry at me, but I didn't exploit anybody for the purpose of this story. And, like, obviously it's easy to go down that path and to think those things when, a minority is represented in a film.
Well, yeah, because it very heavily focuses on black culture as well as low socioeconomic black culture as well. And so there is a very clear, like, not a commentary, but it's like a very clear focus on how the story kind of becomes that whisper within that specific space of the society. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it, if we were to go into like further about like what messages and whatnot that it says, like that you could talk for hours on symbolism and whatnot behind it all, but obviously that's not what I'm here to do. No. So admittedly, I only watched this film for the first time on Friday night.
Yeah.
So I was up until 12:15 watching this movie. And now I never stay awake past like 10 o'clock. But I was so into it. And honestly, it was like a what the fuck?
Yeah, I made the exact same bad call. Because I'm like, oh man, this movie, I remember it scaring me. What time is it? 11:30? Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, I'll turn it on.
Yeah. But it's
and like... then, yeah. Because I had my Switch here. I was like, look, I know I'm going to be scared, so I'm going to play my Switch. I'll play the farming game that makes me happy. I will play that while I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, cool. So that way I can control the fear.
I've got the serotonin. I'm good.
I've got happiness and sadness. I can work this out. I can mellow it out. I can work it. As I'm playing and then I'm watching the film, I'm like, okay, I'm really engrossed in this film.
Yeah, I really need to know what's going on right now.
Yeah, this is not how I remember the film at all. So let's see how this goes.
And I found it was just like I really enjoyed it, and I really loved
so
like
good.
Candyman and like the concept of him appearing and like talking like through what is it when you can talk through your mind?
Like telepathy almost?
Yeah, that's the one. And he's just like, Helen, and just.
But even the sound design on it. So like, cause
Yeah.
when they're having people have a conversation, obviously it's the dialogue is very centered in terms of the audio mix.
Yeah.
So it's right in the middle, and it's there, and they're talking. But whenever Candyman speaks, it engulfs you.
Yeah,
like
and
it
it was
is
just
around you.
Yeah, like so many different, like a 3D for 1992. You know, pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's good spatial audio. It was dope.
I'd watch it again, but I just really couldn't deal with the story sequence.
Yeah.
That
Do we hit Do we talk spoilers in here as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So yeah, like when you find out the main woman is like has this like mad breakdown and then proceeds to murder everyone.
Yeah. We said there wasn't a lot of death.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of death. She murders like a couple of people, and
But
it's
not
just
by
like
Candyman.
yeah, not like it's just. So it's almost she's almost led to this idea that she's like this reincarnation of this woman that Candyman died was burnt to death for, and it's just like, the fuck is this? Like, did she kill anyone? Like, because there's a sequence she gets like bludgeoned in the face. I'm like, is this all happen after the bludgeoning? Is she made all this up? Is this head trauma?
She dropped like what happened?
Yeah.
Everything, I loved how everything was going, and she's going to what is it? Celebrate I've got it written down here. Cabrini Green. Cabrini Green, sorry.
Cabrini Green, yeah.
And how she's going there, and she's like talking to the kid that lives there. That kid creeps me out. And then
yeah, because he's like an adult and a kid. It was really bizarre.
Yeah. Maybe it's just how, I don't know, he just had that, he looked like a child, but personality of a 90-year-old man.
Like, he's seen some shit.
He's seen some shit. And, like, she's investigating Ruthie Jean's murder.
Yeah, so Ruthie Jean was a member of this housing tower, commission housing, I guess.
Yeah, low SES housing.
Yeah. So she dies in her apartment, and then the claim is that it was at the hands of Candyman.
Yeah, but they think it was someone else had murdered her.
Yeah.
Also, they couldn't find out what had happened because her doors were all locked and nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And so, all while this is happening, Helen's still investigating, the mythos that is Candyman. And he's visited her a couple of times telepathically. But then, when she's asking that kid, like, have you seen anything around here? Has anything else happened? Has anyone else died? And he's like, yo, yeah, that kid was killed in the Dunnies. Like, I'll show you. Let's go down there. And that's when she gets hit in the head, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're then exposed to this small gang where this gentleman who is essentially claiming to be Candyman in order to instill fear within the local community.
Yeah.
And it is led to and it is determined that he is the one that killed Ruthie Jean. But it's like, that's where the movie takes a turn. It's almost, well, there's your answer. It's not mythos. It's this dude, and he's just an asshole, and he's just killing people. All right, cool, done. Then it takes the big supernatural turn.
Yeah, and that's when, so she comes out of hospital, and she, it's like a SpongeBob 6 weeks later thing, and she's in the car park with her best mate, and that's when Candyman comes to visit her for the first time.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. And he's there, and he's like, Helen. And he's saying...
It's just some dude the other side of the car park. She's just yelling at him.
Yeah, and she's like, who are you? I would be getting into my car.
Yeah, I'm not sitting there still looking at my, photographs.
Yeah, and she was like taking so long to open the boot and put shit in the boot. And I was like, there's a man yelling at you telepathically, and you're not getting in your car? Like, come on.
It's horror movie 101, man.
Yeah. You know, women are constantly told about safety, and this is one time you need to implement those strategies.
Yeah, if I've got some dude yelling at me across a car park, I'm getting in that car.
Yeah. Anybody yelling at me from across a car park.
I don't mean to alarm the woman. You can also store things on your passenger seat. You can store things on the back seat of your car. Boots aren't always the number one priority.
No, it's weird. I guess like that's the 90s though, that everyone's like, I've got to keep my car. My car is a cardrobe.
Yeah. And there's and then they had like obviously Candyman standing there at a distance, like looking dapper in his big old jacket.
He does have I really like his costume.
Yeah, he's fashionable.
He looks
cool.
very cool. Fashionista. Very
This man got class.
He does, and I think that's missed in this whole. It's a missed opportunity. He could have just been a really classy dude, but instead he's got to kill people with a hook. But so she wakes up in that woman's apartment.
As Candyman's talking to her, she kind of just fucking passes out. No explanation.
Oh, I figured it out. Oh
yeah? What do you got? What do you got for me?
So here is my theory, right? So you know how he was stung to death?
Yes.
So he was stung to death by bees, right?
Yeah.
So what happens
is this all anaphylaxis?
She's having an anaphylactic reaction.
Oh, shit.
He's, like, putting it into her, and that's why she's, like, spacing out, and she's like, oh.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I remember reading somewhere, I could be entirely wrong, that there is, like, a pheromone or some sort of scent that can be, you know, come out of like beehives and shit that can really mess your day up. And like when at the start of
with communications and stuff like that of other bees, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and then it can affect a human in some ways. I remember like in that scene in the Dunnies, she opens the seat and there's like a bunch of bees in there.
Yeah,
and I'm like, whoa, and like so it's almost as if that mild hallucinogenic response and then whatever.
Yeah,
it's a big assumption on my end, but
I think it is bee related.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Oh yeah, because he's Candyman. He's got bees in him. We probably should have specified that earlier. So many bees. He opens up his sweet jacket and he's because the mythos itself is that he was stung to death by bees and burnt alive.
Yes, I think he did get burnt.
Yeah.
But I know that he was chased down and they tied him up and then they took him over to some beehives and
yes, they just unleashed him with bees. Yeah, they got the bees mad. He was naked. He was butt naked and they just beat him.
Yeah. That's so horrible. What a way to go.
Yeah, pretty scary story.
Ugh. But so she wakes up in this apartment covered in blood. And I only watched it
anaphylaxis really fucks you up, eh? Yeah.
And so she's like wigging out. And I think the woman is screaming, and that's what makes her come to. And she comes out, and the dog's head is cut off.
Yeah, so we're meeting a woman that we see earlier in the film. She was the neighbor to Ruthie Jean. I want to say Anne Marie.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
I think it's right about that. So she has, like you see early on, that she has a son, and she expresses that the son is like the only thing she really has.
Yeah.
So yeah, she comes to. She's in a bathroom, drenched in blood. Yeah. Big butcher knife in hand. Opens the door. The dog's fucking decapitated, which is horrifying to begin with.
The woman's screaming.
Staggering amount of blood.
Oh, that a lot of blood for a dog.
Yeah. And then you walk through, and then you see Anne Marie sort of like wailing over the crib of her child. Well, therefore you believe that the child is missing or dead.
I thought the kid was dead.
You come to realize that he's missing, but it's like, oh, my first thought, because I would remember the film, was I'm like, as a father, I'm like, oh, don't tell me the fucking kid's dead.
I was like, I don't want to see a dead baby. Please.
Me either. It's like when I tried to watch Trainspotting. I'm like, oh no.
Way to ruin a perfectly good movie.
The movie was cool until now. Fuck this film. And then obviously she's covered in blood, and then Anne Marie sees her and just like, no, fuck you. And
she's like, what did you do to my baby? She attacks her, and then Helen grabs the butcher knife
and just fucking yanks her.
Like, hacks into her arm, and the blood that just spurted out. I was like, excellent. Yes. I love it. And this is kind of where it just goes all kinds of fucked up. Right, because don't forget we've got Trevor, that dickhead, over in the background. You know, being Trevor. Oh, the husband? I hate him. Hate him.
Yeah. So she gets arrested, taken away, and Trevor, who's her husband, she's in jail trying to like call him like, hey man, come get me, come help me. But it's set up earlier on that he's banging one of his students. He's like, I don't bang students. I'm like, you bang that fucking student.
I was like, you're banging her. Like the whole way along, I was like, what a trope though. Like as if the husband's not banging one of his students. Like, we know.
I'm like, you're a minging, like you're not even a good looking dude. And,
right?
Yeah, and this girl's like, hi. I'm like, oh my god, you are misusing your power.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that's fucking gross. Yeah.
So he eventually comes and gets her.
Oh yeah, because he's not at home, so she's calling.
Yeah,
it's like 3 in the morning, and he's out, gallivanting.
Banging Stacy.
Oh, you remember her name?
Stacy. So he comes to the cop's shop and he picks her up and takes her home, and he goes to work.
Yeah, because he's a professor at the school that she's studying, and he goes.
Yeah, and then Candyman shows up again, but then he disappears.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so while he's at work, she sets up the slide projector because they were the slides before she had a freaking brain malfunction in a car park.
Her anaphylactic shock.
So I just love the idea. It's like, I'm allergic, and like a trail of events.
I left behind all this destruction. Now I'm really scared that I'm gonna have an anaphylactic reaction to something, and I'm gonna maybe I'll go on a murderous rampage.
That's the thing. Like, some of my clients have anaphylaxis to peanuts. No. I'm like, well, look, I don't think peanuts will deliver the same response, but now I need to talk to them. I need to find out what's going to happen.
Just like, so when you have an anaphylactic reaction, do you feel the following?
Yeah.
Murderous
do you have
rampage.
A gentleman yell at you across from a car park? Do you have a hook? What's your stance on babies?
Do you know how to wield a butcher's knife?
Yeah, so as she's watching these projections, which on this projector, there's all these slides of all the photos that she took at what was Ruthie Jean's apartment, which has since been repurposed into some I don't know where the fuck apartment she lived in, but it was huge.
Yeah, because she kind of finds out that her apartment and their apartments are exactly the same, so she's able to work out the ins and outs of the building. Yeah,
they're the same housing project, but like they deformed like a imaginary line. And this was a rich side, and this is the poorer side. So she works out like, okay, if you go through a window, if you go through a medicine cabinet mirror,
and that's where she took the photos.
Wall cavity. So she's watching all these like Candyman related pictures, and then
he's in the picture.
Yeah,
and then I think she goes and has a bath.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna point that out as well. She's got the projector. She's got the film. I don't know about you, but I remember old school cameras that like they weren't of a high resolution.
No,
yet
but
somehow she was able to like digitally manipulate that shit with just the lens.
Like zoomed in and shit. Yeah, I was like, that's not real.
It was like CSI level of enhance, and then defuzz it.
It's like she got like on the screen and like zoomed in with
pinch,
her fingers.
pinch zoom.
Yeah, because I was like, that's really fucking high quality for a disposable camera.
Yeah. It was not even a DSLR. It was a disposable camera in 1992. It wasn't going well.
Oh, but I was impressed.
Yeah, I was like, shit, she managed to work out who that silhouette was really easy.
She zoomed in on his face.
Yeah. Like back in my day, that disposable camera didn't even go in focus.
No, the technology back then.
Oh man, she made one of those fancy pants projectors, I guess.
Yeah, and so her best mate shows up.
Oh yeah, that's right.
To check on her. And she's like, don't come in because Candyman's here.
Oh, yeah, because Candyman, she has another anaphylactic shock and she's like falling on the ground like, no.
Yeah, he just like, didn't he like touch her head or something? And she's
like booped her on the nose and then she fucking died. Yeah, she's on the ground being all paralyzed. Friend's like, friend comes in. Candyman's like, oh, hey, bro, and then wrecks her.
Oh, how does like the color of her face?
Yeah.
So Trevor comes home and sees it all, and she's got the knife in her hand again.
Yeah, well, we're led to believe this was a protective knife that she was holding.
Yeah, but we don't know.
And then of course,
Candyman killing these people, or is she?
Yeah, she went and just touched the body, Like, oh no, I they believe I killed this other person. Touch.
Oh,
Like, stop touching things.
Put all my DNA over everything. Forensic Science 101.
Yeah, it didn't exist. It didn't even exist back then. Right then, they're like, you're there, blood's there, you're done.
You've got a knife. You did it.
Yeah.
They actually take her to a psychiatric ward, don't they?
Yes.
And this is where, on her first night there, she's, tied down and she's like, oh, he's in here. And she's like, got a little, like, they've sedated her, so she's a little bit out of it. And
yeah, and then, like, Candyman comes in like Smithers to Mr. Burns through the window.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
And he's like...
Yeah, he's like, I'm the Candyman. And then, like, floats through the roof.
But then he, like, did you see, like, on, like, because you know how the view is from, like, her peripheral.
Oh, fuck, there's a fourth death. There's another death. But yeah, keep going, sorry.
So, like, you see him, like, slink down under the bed. And I was like, that's so creepy.
Yeah, because he keeps perfect stillness. I know it's an audio medium, so you can't see my hand. But like, yeah, so he keeps perfectly flat in like a almost Christ-like over the top of her.
Yeah.
And then she's like, help! And the people are trying to jack with the door, and he just like slinks to the left, and down under the bed, all in like a perfect like C-shaped movement. It was horrifying. It was really unnatural.
See, I feel like the suspense in this, not the suspense, but like the psychological part of it is what got me, not the murders and the death and everything. I was like, oh, that's fine.
It's interesting how how you mentioned like that was kind of uncomfortable because one of my favorite scary movies, like horror movies, is The Conjuring, right?
Oh, I love that.
I think The Conjuring's absolutely fantastic. But the in the first film, the second that I went, oh man, was at the end when she was all possessed and shit.
Yeah.
That's when it became instantly not scary. Like once they showed what it was, I'm like, ugh, because she's on a chair swinging around. I'm like, this is clearly wire work, bro.
Yeah.
He was clearly wire work, and I'm like, this is intense.
This is so creepy. And I think it's because of the era that it was written and produced in, where they didn't have a lot, but they were still able to create this really, like, intense, like, grossed out feeling in people. Like,
yeah.
And he wasn't really he wasn't even scary looking. Like, he
dude.
just looked like a normal dude.
He just wanted to smooch, like, but he was polite about it.
He went in a really weird way about it.
Yeah, but like the best part, because once again, old film, and once I got super into the film, I started noticing little details.
Yeah.
So like, when he's like so the door comes, he's under the bed, and the doctor comes in and it's like, I need 1,000 milliliters of blood. I'm like, you're gonna pump a liter of shit into this woman? Like I rewound it. I'm like,
you're like,
what?
No.
I'm like, do not pump 1,000 milliliters into anyone. And then this woman brings in this piddly ass syringe, and it's clearly fake because she pokes her, and the needle just bends.
And it I think it retracts into the plastic.
It bends, then retracts, and she doesn't even plunge it. She just goes brr and then leaves.
She's like, oh, done. And you're just like, that's not a liter.
That was my concern. I'm like, yeah. But I rewound it like 5 times.
You should not be a nurse.
Yeah, I'm like, that is so much fucking medicine. Like, she's dead.
Well, they did sedate her for like 8 weeks, so... Maybe it was just off that one injection.
Oh yeah, it takes a long while to, you drink a liter of water. How long does it take that to get through you? Like, imagine if it's whatever random medication they claimed it was.
Whatever. We're going to have to find out. Now I need to know what it was.
I need to know.
Yeah. So this is where they're like, you're going to go to court. You're going to trial for murder.
Yeah. So she goes to see like the psychiatrist of the
dude
building.
That runs the...
Yeah, and they showed the video of her being like wigging out.
Yeah.
And then the best thing, they showed the exact scene that made me laugh from a different angle. So I got to laugh all over again.
That they came in with a piddly ass needle. You're like, yes!
Like, yes!
1,000 milliliters.
Oh, so happy. But yeah, and then Candyman appears, yanks this dude, and this is the only death that we see him do in the entire film.
Because he kills the psychiatrist.
Yeah, and then he cuts her wrist straps and she like hightails it out of there. But not before like
killing a couple of other people.
Yeah, not before just like vacuuming himself out of a window. And I also saw the line on his back for that too. Because I was watching the Blu-ray remastered. I'm like, well, he could have done a bit better job, bro. But like he just gets yanked out of the window, and you just see the cable so clearly that I couldn't help but laugh again.
Brilliant. Oh.
So in terms of my favorite scene, this whole section,
just that bit,
brilliant. Not because it's not scares, just because it was fucking dumb.
But I love when something is really dumb, and you're just like, why? I love it, but I fucking hate it at the same time. Like, why are you doing this to me? And I must say that I've only just started watching a lot of like horror movies from the 80s, because I grew up watching like 80s, early 90s, like the Saw franchise and Hostel. Like, I'm really into exploitation films.
God, that first Saw is so fantastic.
It's phenomenal.
It's so good.
It's because it's written by Australians, and Australians just think of the most fucked up shit.
Yeah, man.
And then they sold the franchise after like I think
they're literally the first one.
No, I think they did number 2 as well.
Oh, really? Yeah, and they just kind of had fun with it.
And they're like, off you go. See, I love Hostel because I'm a huge Eli Roth fan.
Dude, Hostel is brilliant.
It's so... And it's... Do you know what? With Eli Roth in that film, like, it's just so, like, this could really happen to people. Like, that's what is so fucked up about those movies.
And I guess that's what I love, like, because keeping Australian films, I know we're really going tangent here, but like Wolf Creek as well. Like, I remember when I first saw Wolf Creek, like, I had a literal adrenaline rush watching that film. Like, I left my room going, oh! Like, my heart.
Yeah, Australian horror is incredible.
It had that right sense of, that could happen. The second one, it did nothing of that. No,
I wouldn't.
But so she breaks out of the psychiatric place in a smock, so presumably ass hanging out.
I think she stole a nurse's outfit.
Oh yeah, but her ass would have been hanging out until then. Yeah.
Because she would have been in a smock.
It's the rules of the smock. You're always butt ass naked under the smock. It's the rules.
It's the rule. Them's the rules. So she goes to her apartment. And she's like, Trevor will help me.
Trevor, she goes there. Stace is there singing,
painting.
Not wearing bras, painting on walls.
The apartment fucking pink. Like, the most gaudy ass pink I've ever seen in my life. I was like, that's a terrible colour.
It's horrible. And then Trevor comes out in a dressing gown with a towel around his neck. I'm like, what is this combo, mate?
Maybe he's just a really sweaty dude.
Yeah. Like, it's not like the towel's wrapped around his mid and like he's still got wet down there. He's got a double
combo going.
Yeah, either he's rocking 2 towels or he's just like commandoing down there and only concerned about his like neck wetness. Ugh.
He looks like the kind of dude that would have a lot of neck wetness.
I just love that as an insult.
Look, that's probably as brutal as I get when it comes to insulting people.
You look like someone that would have a very wet neck.
Oh, yuck. Like, it makes my skin crawl.
Oh, I'm sorry. That got me so well. That was awesome.
I'm really good at insulting people.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So the entire time, the one thing that I found really off-putting about this entire scene is Stacy's reaction to Helen being in the home. She's like giggling, but I don't know if she's laughing or crying or whimpering or...
And she's just uncomfortable.
What is she doing? Because they're literally the only lines this woman has had the entire movie is her giggling.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? Give the woman some lines.
Oh, she has a couple lines later on, but it's pretty much just Trevor. And then she like greatly mishandles some meat. Oh yeah, so during this encounter, she's has weird like character, like as in like almost personality switches.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Weird. But she,
and then she ends up scooting.
Yeah, because she kind of like clicks and she's like, I'm gonna leave. All right, bye.
Yeah, I just threatened you all. I'm gonna leave now.
I'm out. And then the over dramatics of that whole scene with Trevor and Stacey, I was like, you guys make me sick. Your wife is in a psychiatric ward and you're here banging one of your students? How unethical and morally bankrupt are you?
Yeah, we're like, yeah.
But you know what? I think that says I don't know what it says.
Yeah, so then she essentially goes back to, if I remember right, she goes back to the Candyman location.
She's going to Cabrini Green because she thinks she knows where Anthony is.
Yeah, so the whole time we keep in these little like flashes that the baby's not dead, the baby's down in the thing, and Candyman's feeding him presumably honey from his finger, keeping him sustained.
His finger just like is like a honey straw.
Yeah, he just kind of floats in, feeds the baby, and then floats out.
It's like a little. Where does honey come out of? The stinger? No.
No, they kind of. It's just like essentially bee vomit.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, honey's kind of gross.
I really
very
like
delicious.
honey.
Honey's so good.
Honey's so good. So she goes in. She's like climbing all through the building, isn't she? Like essentially in the abandoned part, and she finds Anthony. But not before or does she find? No,
she goes there and then Candyman fucks with her some more.
Yeah.
And then we see this, like, once again, we're never alluded to that what she's going into is more than an apartment. But it's like this whole fucking underside of a train station, like level of...
It's like a house almost.
Yeah, it's real bizarre. As she goes in there, and then there's like this big mural of the creation of Candyman.
And this is where I'm like, why the fuck couldn't they tell us this bit at the start? Because everything would make fucking sense. That Candyman, this man of candy, thinks that Helen is his long-lost lover.
The woman that he died for.
Oh, did I miss that bit at the start of the movie?
No, they explain that like what she looked like.
Oh,
but she looked fucking nothing like Helen. It looked more like Stacey, if anything.
Yeah, and then so you see the painting, which still doesn't look like Helen.
It looks like fucking Stacey. Like, why is she not here?
Why isn't Stacey dead? And so he is like, come and he's like, come and be immortal. Yeah,
come be with me.
Yeah.
But she didn't acknowledge the pun. It was real rude of her.
Fucking, she should have been like, baby, let's go.
Yeah, she's like, he's like, be my honey, and he's like, ew. Come on, that was pretty sweet. Yeah, that would have been a way better conversation than one that was in the film.
Yeah, right? Like, all the conversations are just like, except like at the start where they're doing the research, I really liked the conversations they were having there. Like, that was fascinating.
Like, there were, like, so essentially she gets all wigged out again, blah, 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 blah. So we're right at the end of the film, then we can start breaking it apart. Yeah, so she kind of goes out, discovers that there is like they're having this big ass bonfire thing in the middle of
and Anthony's
housing.
in it.
Yeah, the baby's in it. She's like, oh no, the baby's in it.
Yeah.
So she fangs it there, and then she goes in there, and it's like a cubby house. It looks really sweet in there. Because
she stabbed Candyman and he disappeared. I think
so. Sounds about right.
But she got away from him.
Yeah. Either way, she's in this giant, cubby house with a bonfire.
Yeah.
Finds the baby. Everyone just sets fire to the fucking thing because it's what it's there for.
Because the 90-year-old child came out and was like, let's do this.
Yeah, they're like, Candyman's in there. Let's fucking burn that shit down.
Yeah. And so she gets out, and this bit broke my heart.
Yeah.
when she's like crawling out because she is trying to get Anthony out of there, and the bonfire's on, and she's trying to crawl out of there, and she gets out, and it's like all crumbling down because it crumbles down on top of Candyman, and she's out the bottom, and like her entire back is on fire. Her head is on fire, which really scared me. And then, she's like crawling out, and she's got like Anthony in her arms and just like hands her to his mum. And I was just like, I really liked that bit.
You did like that bit.
That was nice.
Yeah. I went the other way. I went, oh, this is turned again.
This turned again.
It's like I'm watching this, like her being set on fire, and she's looking like Anakin in Star Wars Episode 2, and I'm like, Episode 3. So I'm like, what the fuck is all this?
All right.
I'm like, is this trying to be like some white woman being the savior of the black peoples? Is that what they're trying to do here? Like, this is like fucking weird. I didn't even
think of it that way. Oh god, it really could be.
Yeah, and then like and the way she's crawling, she crushed that fucking baby.
That baby is dead.
That baby's mushed. And then they just hand the baby to the mum and the baby's fine.
And then, so it turns out she's dead.
Yeah. She dies from burn-related injuries, I guess.
The fucking open coffin.
Like, you know what we should do? This woman has been horrifyingly burnt. Open coffin funeral? Open? Everyone? Open?
Open it up!
I don't see how this could be a bad thing. Yeah.
So they put on her.
Yeah. So she's there, like they're at the funeral, and then
it's just Trevor and Stacey.
It's just Trevor and Stace. Stace is mixed up. She's not quite sure why she's there. But like, and next thing, everyone from Cabrini Green comes wandering, and they're all like they throw a hook in her fucking open grave.
Hook in there, and they leave. And the fucking end of the movie.
Like, one of them could have done that. I don't know why they all needed to be there, but
like they were like, thank you, white lady, for saving us.
Yeah, thank you for saving this one baby. But yeah, and then we see a little bit later where Trevor's a bit torn up because he realized he's a garbage person.
Yeah, this bit's great.
No, I've got fucking brownie down my front. Thank you, child. So he's all having like an existential crisis in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And Stacey's like, come have dinner. He's like, no, I'm pooping. And,
I'd rather poop.
He's like, come in. And she's being an ungrateful cow about it and just like
slapping the meat around.
Yeah, greatly.
I mean, like a steak.
Yeah, like he has like a steak and she's just treating it poorly.
Slapping it around.
And then he can hear her beating the meat, and he has these flashbacks to when he had a wife that was nice to the meat. It was the chain of flashback here was really bizarre.
Yeah,
it's like I remember when my old wife, before she was crazy and burnt alive, she made good dinners.
I love that crazy bitch.
She was fucking mental, but God, she made a sweet salad.
At least she kissed me when I got home.
So he's standing there, like, being all sad and shit, and then he proceeds to like give the whole Candyman thing in the mirror. And he goes, oh, nothing happened. The lights flick out. And then old mate standing behind him. But she looks like someone strapped a ball bag to her head. Like, it didn't look very good. And then she shanked him. He's dead in the bathtub. And then Stacey comes in and in the worst sound edit ever. They're like, all right, Stacey, we need you to give the best scream you can. She's like, it's just like, oh my God.
Underwhelming.
Yeah. That was the best you got?
But I loved how dead he looked.
Oh, he looked so dead.
He looked super dead. They really filleted him in that.
Yeah, and he's all like sprawled across the bath, legs over the top, like looking.
And he's like, I'd rather be dead than in this apartment with Stacey.
Like, the things you do to get out of her dinner, right? Like it's
she's a fucking horrible cook.
And credits.
And see. But yeah, but overall, I really enjoyed
Yeah, the movie is very, very good.
it. Was fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to the version that they're bringing out this year. So, well, I don't know if it's this year because I know it did get delayed.
Yeah, so as with everything under current circumstances, it's probably coming next year.
Yeah, there was a big delayed announcement. So, Tony Todd, who played Candyman, the original Candyman, is back as Candyman.
Oh, get the fuck out. I had no idea.
Yes.
All right, that's amazing.
It actually starts from like modern times where Anthony, who was the child of Anne Marie and the baby that was originally stolen by Candyman,
shit!
It surrounds around him.
See, I know none of this because I didn't watch the trailer because I was like, fuck this film, it's scary.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
Oh, I'm excited now.
I'm really excited about it. And I'm not too sure who wrote this one and directed this one, but if it's any of the current, masters
I'm
of
pretty
horror,
sure
it's
it's
gonna be good.
like... I need to find out because I'm pretty sure it's like someone of note.
Oh, I think it's Jordan Peele.
That's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure it's Jordan Peele. Okay, no, I don't want to give a shit who the cinematography is. Give me the director, bro. Yeah, produced by Jordan Peele, directed by Nia DaCosta, screenplay by Jordan Peele, Wynn Rosenfeld, and Nia DaCosta.
He knows what he's doing.
He's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, he has a new TV show coming out on HBO called Lovecraft Country.
Oh yeah.
And because H.P. Lovecraft was a huge white supremacist,
oh, massive
I
racist.
think it's a massive
so
spin on it. Because this black family move into this house that they inherit. And so I think it's a lot of like anti-black sentiment because, H.P. Lovecraft was white supremacist.
He had a dog literally called the N-word. He's a horrible
Oh, that's
person.
horrible.
Yeah.
Oh.
He created these really cool creatures, but he was garbage.
Oh, yeah, like the creatures are cool and all, but like he's a garbage human being.
Yeah.
Still a piece of garbage. But I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah,
if it
I'm
is like
very excited.
based on, it might be based on a little bit of Lovecraft, but I think it might be a lot about his like racist sentiment in his books by the looks of the trailer. So,
but what'll be interesting with this, I guess it sounds like it's like a softy reboot because Candyman has had sequels. There's 3 of them.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the narrative of those ones are. But I know the same gentleman who played Candyman was in those sequels as well.
Yeah.
Because, like, in my process of trying to find this film, I discovered that the Australian streaming services, depending on which one you go to, they don't have Candyman 1, but Amazon has 3, and Stan has number 2. So
they've gotten rid of it because of the new... It's not a remake or a reboot. I think it's a reimagining of the story and bringing it, like, into modern times. And
yeah.
I feel like... Jordan Peele is just really a phenomenal producer. And if you've seen any of his work, I haven't watched his movies because one of them's about a home invasion, like people hanging out, like us, people hanging out the front of someone's house.
But it's also them, which is really bizarre. Which is
and home invasion movies or anything about like something coming into like my home, like a person, I just can't watch. So like Strangers, I can't watch. I can't stand that. What's that movie? The Panic Room. That movie terrified me.
Yeah,
I also haven't watched. What's that? The Purge. Nope.
I remember, like, in terms of house invasion films, I remember there's a movie called Fear.
I know of the movie.
Yeah, at the end of the film, there's like a bunch of dudes just like breaking into some house. I remember being really uncomfortable by that. But like that was like, once again, because I don't remember, there's 2 things I remember in that film. I don't know who the dude in it was, but all I remember is that he's trying to make moves on this woman on a Ferris wheel. He tries to like get all in her front area, and then I remember that scene, and then I remember the home invasion at the end.
Yeah.
I have no idea what happened, but they're the 2 scenes I took note of, apparently.
Home invasions just fucked me up. So, in regard to Candyman, how much did it fuck you up on your journey into horror movies?
Well, I've never really been a big horror movie guy. Like, it's just not me, because I am a big old pants. So it's very, very infrequent that, like, I do. Like, I'm the kind of guy that's like, I'm like a more science-minded man, like ghosts and shit. It's just not real. And then I proceed to watch like an hour's worth of ghost videos on YouTube, and then every light in the house is on.
Yeah.
Like, that's my life.
But for like me, I'm not a science-based thinker. I'm more like a critical thinker.
Yeah.
And like analytical mind. And my brain is, I don't fuck with that shit.
Yeah.
I do not fuck with the other side. Even though like critical thinking tells me it doesn't exist. But I'm just like, you don't mess with ghosts. You don't touch Ouija boards. You don't do a seance.
Oh, even no, you don't fuck with Ouija boards.
You don't touch that shit.
Science brain says don't fuck that shit.
Oh, science brain says don't fuck with it.
Yeah, man. Because either it doesn't work or it's fucking horrifying. Like both of them, both options sound bad.
Both deduction tells me no.
Both sound a really misuse of your time.
I know some people who did a seance in a house that they first moved into.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Newcastle. And yeah, it was. They were like tormented by this spirit for months. Like it was a little boy and he'd like open all the cupboards in their house in the middle of the night and like they'd wake up in the morning and come out and every single door in the house would be open, like cupboards and
yeah, and I can't fuck with that.
And I'm just I'd be out. Have my house.
Yeah, it's
Here's
your
the
house
deed.
now.
What's your name? I'm signing it over to you. You can fucking have it. I'm done.
Yeah, I freak out when I'm lying in bed and I hear like the house just creaking because of the heater. I'm like, no, fuck this. I'm moving out.
Yeah, but I feel like movies like Candyman really tug at the part of me that loves history and stories and like obviously the conversations and narrative around that could have built it more. And I'm really hoping that Jordan Peele does that, like really builds more on the lore around who Candyman is. Like they gave us the foundations for it, but it didn't really provide like this connection for me to Candyman. Like I just didn't really care that much.
Well, because that'd be my thing that I'd hope they'd really touch upon in this new one. Like, do they follow the same storyline? Do they have like some other white woman that goes crazy? Or are they gonna, are they gonna make it into more of a supernatural film?
Well, because Jordan Peele's producing it, I feel like it's gonna be very it's gonna have a lot more black characters and
Awesome.
a lot more black voices and even with the storytelling and giving them more than like just a sideline to the movie. Like even Candyman himself felt like
Yeah, because once she decided that she wants to yank people, he's like, yeah, I guess I'm a B character now. Yeah.
Even though it's his movie, he didn't feel like a central part of the narrative.
Yeah. So that's in terms of that, as I said, with that narrative, like I wonder whether he will have it all be another person acting on Candyman's path, quote unquote, or are they going to make Candyman an actual presence in this film?
I really hope so. And like knowing that Jordan Peele is just have you watched his Twilight Zone series?
No.
Oh, it's amazing.
All right. What's that? Where's that available?
I got it
Ways?
from a...
Ways?
Ways?
There are ways to get it? Yeah, ways? Okay. Okay, I will find those
There are ways, good friend.
It's interesting because the similar ways gave me Candyman, so yeah.
I mean, like, there's got to be ways to
Always.
get things done,
Negotiations, it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just feel like it really bummed me out. Like everything was so good. Like we were talking about the audio not quality, but like the diverse sound.
The dynamic, like that spatial audio was a really good little
and
touch.
like he could have been a really fucking amazing character.
Because even the imagery alone, so like when they go into that that little warehouse of an apartment, like just the street art within that space was like really sort of eerie and uncomfortable and really set up this like long-term folklore, like a new age folklore around Candyman. Like like they connected it to this old story where this fucking old fat English dude professor decides to be like, oh no, the Candyman is but then what was represented in the film was very different to that dude with too much neck weight.
Yeah.
Like you got sweaty neck and big neck. Like there's a lot of necks in this film.
So many necks. I just feel like the black characters. I mean, I know it's 1992, so everyone hopefully has come a little bit stepped away from giving black characters this really they're from the ghetto and they
Yeah.
have simple jobs, like they're janitors or they're unemployed or they're gangbangers, and it's like, I really hope that obviously Jordan Peele's not going to do that, which is, you know, he's going to present the everyday black person.
What would be nice, because Cabrini Green isn't actually a ghetto.
No.
Like, not even close.
No.
So, like, whether they go, you know, if they're using the same location, are they going to have it represented correctly, or?
I hope so. I really do. And I feel like this is what happens when old white dudes produce movies.
Yeah. In the 90s.
In the 90s. You know, like, obviously we have our Helen, who's our white savior, and Trevor, who is just a dickhead. But
Well, like, you got one thing right. Yeah, the white guy is still horrible. Like, they kind of nailed that part pretty good. So.
They nailed that. Sorry, but Candyman should have taken, like, front seat in that entire story. Like, I would have liked to have seen, like, actual flashbacks to, like, when he, you know, was alive before he was killed. Like, what was his relationships? Where did he live? Where did he come from?
So, like, without having seen Candyman 2 or 3, like, maybe they're touched upon, you know, maybe they're not. Am I going to watch them? Probably not.
Probably not, no. But I really liked the movie. I just feel like, myself being, like, a really huge supporter of, like, diverse voices, and especially, like, black and POC voices, I was like, this movie just really pissed me off. But I've got to remember context.
Yeah.
When was it made? Who was writing it? Like, this movie's 30 years old.
Oh my God,
terrifying.
it really is, yeah. It's like 28 years old. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel old now.
Yeah, me too. Thanks.
But
Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up.
But yeah, because, like, in terms of what your original question was it like, has this, did it make me a horror fan, or has it pushed me in that direction? Well, not really, no, because, like, I still don't watch a lot of horror. I love the idea of horror, but I know I'm not there.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it is very fascinating. And, like, I can name the horror movies I've watched pretty much in, like, less than two hands. You know what I mean? It's just
wow.
Like, because I can remember, you know, in terms of other horror, like, I guess, because I don't really classify, like, slasher as horror for some, even though it technically
it's like a cross genre.
Yeah, like, I've seen, like, I remember seeing Scream 2 when I was younger.
Yeah.
And my dad thought it would be fine to watch. My mum, she got so mad. But, you know, yeah, like, there wasn't, like, a lot of horror movies that I watched. And even as I got older, I was like, yeah, I'm aware that I'm not really the market demographic for that. That's cool. But yeah, and then it wasn't until, like, you know, as I say, I've said The Conjuring before, because that was the one that really swung it back on me. I'm like, well, I know the director's amazing. I guarantee this is going to be brilliant. And I watched it, and I sat on the edge of my seat the entire time. And I remember going to the cinema to see the second one with my wife, and it was a packed cinema. But as I'm watching it, I couldn't feel more alone. I was so fucking on edge and scared, and I'm like,
that's how I felt watching the Amityville Horror, the remake with Ryan Reynolds. I went to the movies to see that.
No, I have seen that. Maybe I wasn't. Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was terrified. Now I could watch it and be like, eh. I think I've become a little bit desensitized to supernatural horror, and I think because it's such a common theme in horror movies. Whereas, like I said, if I was to watch a home invasion film, I would be so incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where I'd be like, I can't, I have to turn this off. I can't do this. But my comfort zone is in slashers and exploitation films like Saw, and a lot of B-grade films, like stuff made by, like, the Shoshka sisters. So they're two sisters that have made some really cool films. They did Dead Hooker in a Trunk.
Wait, that's a movie name?
Yeah.
Damn. All right.
Yeah, and they also did a remake of Rabid. So I'm really hanging to see that. So I'm really, supernatural movies, I get a little bit, like, they're in my uncomfortable zone. I love exorcism movies. Like, if you're possessed, I'm there. I want to know how the fuck this happened.
Well, I guess that comes down to how I line up horror films, because, like, I've, you know, when I think of it, like, of those movies that I've seen, I think of, like, you know, 13 Ghosts, which isn't really spooky. It's a fantastic film, but, like, I don't remember being scared about it. I remember, like, just enjoying it. You know, and then like Amityville Horror as an example, I was like, okay, cool, but yeah, I guess it's a horror. But I remember watching Freddy versus Jason, like I remember laughing more than
I love that movie.
Just because it's like just at the end when who was I think Jason is like slashing Freddy on a pier, and Freddy's like, like not even giving it any shits, and it's just like really bad blood splurts.
In 3D, I think in the 3D version they actually cut his head off and it flies like in the air.
And like I wouldn't put like I put Saw in more of that originally, in that more of that psychological kind of space.
And I think I really love that space. Like, I really do. I'm a really big fan of. Have you watched a lot of Eli Roth's films?
Not particularly. No, not that I'm aware of.
He did Cabin Fever, which is just so beyond.
No, I remember at the time going like, someone was like, "You should watch that." I'm like, no,
that's a great movie. He did The Green Inferno, which is about a cannibalistic tribe that's never been in touch with humans, like other humans, ever before. And it's like a research group that go there and they all get like tortured and eaten. He also did, no, he didn't do I think he did the remake of The Evil Dead, but with Sam Raimi. Okay. So Sam Raimi is another one of my absolute horror favorites in the whole entire world. And I actually listened to a podcast by, who's the guy that played the Hobbit?
Martin Freeman?
No, the other Hobbit.
Elijah Wood?
That's the one. So Elijah Wood and another guy, they actually have their own horror movie distribution company called Spectre.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Spectrevision. So they did, they've done a few, they did Mandy.
I think they did a game.
Pardon?
I think they did a game.
They did a game? Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
With Ubisoft.
Potentially.
Okay. Because I think that's the same production company. It was called Transference.
Yeah. Oh, I know the one. I don't know if that's them, though.
Because I remember Elijah Wood being at Ubisoft. I was like, oh, shit.
Okay, yeah. Because I'm only new into the whole, like, knowing Elijah Wood's company. So I've been a huge Blumhouse fan for, like, fucking ever, because they just produce, like, average slasher films that are just amazing. So they did a remake of Black Christmas. I watched that last night. Everyone gave it so much shit, but I really fucking enjoyed it. Because at the end of the film, this is a big, massive spoiler for everybody, so turn off your ears now. There wasn't a final girl. There was 5 girls left over and 1 dude. So they did a final guy. And I was like, I love that they did that they completely turned that trope around and was like, we gave you, all the women are surviving, and then this 1 dude. So it had a lot to say about, like, gender and sexuality and feminism. It was really freaking cool.
Yeah, because I think that's more a different discussion for a different time. But like horror movie and horror tropes, because one of my colleagues at work, she's very much into, although correctly into those rights and sort of stuff. And she's also a big horror fan as well. So we've had like lengthy conversations about how women are represented in film, especially horror film, and and all those sort of things. And how it's especially those early ones were like, well, you're dying because you're a woman and you got naked, and you're in trouble for wanting to have sex.
Because there's 5 characters that they give you in every horror film. There's the final girl, the jock, the geek, the slut, and the love interest of the main final girl. I know he's got a name, but yeah, there's 5 characters. And if you've seen Cabin in the Woods, they actually make fun of that whole concept.
That movie is so good.
It's so good. I love the dudes in the office, like in the control room.
So who had hillbillies? Did you have hillbillies?
I just wanted to be the merman. And then he gets eaten by the merman. Yeah. So good.
I watched that again.
I'm going to watch it. I only probably watched a couple of months
ago.
The
other difficulty is, like, now that I've got a kid, like I've got like an almost 4-year-old, so like I have to be very selective about when and where and what movies that I watch, because like my wife's a big action movie fan, so she's constantly watching explosions, people being shot, and James doesn't seem to give a shit, so that's good. But like I think there's a line. Like we played Last of Us together recently. Yeah. I'm like, I probably shouldn't have let him play that.
I mean, you're the parent.
Just violence, yeah. That's true.
The parent.
He seems
you get
okay
to
about
teach him context.
That's a good point.
That's why I'm going to be a teacher.
But yeah, so Candyman itself didn't really change my influence. I think it has now, though. I say that as having rewatched it and then being going, oh, okay, well, it's not that bad. I've obviously come further as a human, which makes sense because I was fucking under 10 at the time.
Ooh.
Like, well, I've matured. Because I do have a lot in my Netflix queue. There are quite a number of horror films.
What have you got in there?
I know Insidious is in there because apparently Insidious is okay.
It's all right.
I remember there was the Haunting of something.
Oh, the Haunting of House Hill.
Apparently that's
the TV
bitchin'
show?
good.
Apparently, I haven't watched it yet. Like I said, because of supernatural films, I get really edgy, so I have to be in the right mindset to watch it.
I know I'm gonna poop when I'm watching it, so I'm like, all right, I've got to be in the right space. It's gonna be the middle of an afternoon.
It was a movie, and so my dad has seen it, or maybe my grandma. Sorry, because I posed the question to all my family members, and I was like, "What's the first horror movie you ever watched?" And my grandma said, "The Haunting of House Hill." So I think it was an early 60s or late 60s movie, or maybe early 70s, because my grandma would have been. She was 17 in the late 60s, so it might have been around then. And she said it was terrifying. And then she also said the Night of the Living Dead. That the one where they're all slow walking zombies. And I was like, oh, that's not scary. Now running zombies, get the fuck out. Was it 28 Days that really sort of brought those crazy ass zombies in? That's when it got really uncomfortable. It would have been 28 Days or the Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I think it may have been Dawn of the Dead. I think Dawn of the Dead's what
I watched that when I was 13, and that movie absolutely ruined zombies for me for my whole entire life.
I've got two other things. I'm looking at my list now just for context.
Yeah.
Something called Veronica.
Okay.
It came out a couple of years ago. One something called Haunted. Obviously,
Haunted's a TV show.
I've got a lot of things sort of around. But a lot is very supernatural related. Yeah. But for those that are listening out there, I am certainly open to the genre more than I ever have been. So if anyone got any recommendations, I would, be willing to shit myself. So let's do it.
See, I only watch horror movies, really. If I sit down and watch any other genre, I get really bored. And I'm like, I can't watch this because I'm not terrified. It's not engaging in the senses in the way that a horror movie does for me. So I kind of just lose track and interest, and I'm like, oh, what's happening in the story now? And so I don't really have anything on my to watch list at the moment. So
because the difficulty would be in terms of because Candyman had it as well. There's a couple of really easy jump scares in Candyman.
I didn't have them.
Oh, no, but they were the in terms of easy setup, right?
Yes.
She's looking in a window and then a dog jumps up.
Or when they close the windows and it's all set up for being scared and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, and I'm a big fan of the tension.
Yeah.
The tension horror movies.
Yeah.
And that's where once again, using The Conjuring, I felt The Conjuring was brilliant at that level of tension. There's a lot of time where it was build up, build up, build up, build up. Nothing really happens. You feel safe, and then fuck you.
Yeah.
And that's, even though I know that gives me anxiety and I hate it, they were the ones that I enjoy.
Yeah, they're good that way. I've watched The Conjuring. I haven't seen the second one. I really like The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Second one's brilliant. Yeah, second one's brilliant.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose was really good. I really enjoyed that because her body was all twisted and contorted, and I was like, that's so cool.
I've got a friend of mine, Dylan. So he cannot watch any of that weird distorted body stuff.
It'll make some people really uncomfortable.
That's his line. He's like, nope.
No, I'm out.
The second you see someone kind of walk on all fours across the room, he's like, no, fuck it.
I love that.
And he's out. He's big out.
All right. So we've discussed Candyman in depth. I never really thought there was so much to discuss in a horror movie. Blows my mind. So to wrap up the podcast, what is the last horror movie you watched and you can't say Candyman?
Oh crap. I have no idea. As I said, once again, having a young child, I've not really gone out of my way to do it. In terms of, maybe not a horror film, but as I said, I do tend to, deep dive into, rabbit holes on YouTube of just shitty ghost videos. So like, or I'll go that way then. I can't remember the last movie that I watched because it would be actual years.
Yeah.
But in terms of YouTube channels that I watch frequently, it would be the likes of Sir Spooks. He's always got some dope ones. Chills, because the narrator's weird. Like his delivery is unhuman, and it actually makes me mad. And then another one, it's an Aussie guy who sort of makes a clip compilations. The channel's called Slapped Ham, which makes me laugh every time. But he kind of has interesting like clips, you know. Because I think the reason I like them, and probably the same reason that we discussed like why we like Candyman and maybe even The Conjuring, is because there are semi-real, like these are all clips that someone has posted online that are put together. There is that level of, you know, like, is it real? Like, could this happen, you know?
Yeah.
Where, like, that's probably why I don't really like slashes. Like, Freddy versus Jason, I'm like, none of this could even possibly be remotely real.
Also, maybe that's why I like it. Because I'm like, this can't be real.
Well, as you said, like, Supernatural kind of like, fuck that.
Oh,
which
it
is
crosses
like,
a
that
line
probably
for
has a
me.
bit more real
Yeah.
on that side of things.
Yeah. I actually watched, I think the last one I watched was either Hereditary or...
that's on my list as well.
Yeah, that'll really fuck your shit up.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, Ari Aster wrote and directed. Fantastic. Absolutely amazing. They, I don't know if if they are male or female, I'm not too sure. Also did Midsummer, which just blew my mind. All right, so I don't know how to wrap up a podcast. Thanks for coming on and
yeah, no worries,
talking
man.
About Candyman.
No worries. Thanks for making me laugh so hard. That was amazing.
Well, I'll protect you from all the weird neck people. Don't worry. I got you. All right.